Another week has come along with a new episode of Hunt the Truth. Last week was one hell of a trip and this week does not disappoint. So, let's dive in. In the wake of finding a public record of John's death, Ben did the only thing he could think to do. Call ONI. After almost 90 minutes on hold, apparently the norm for ONI, which makes sense, intelligence agency, all that jazz, Ben is finally able to speak with Michael Sullivan, ONI's PR guy and the one who set Ben on his path. Ben confronts Sully about his discovery, but Sully quickly dismisses it, noting that records, especially paper records, are nothing short of a nightmare in the outer colonies. And God forbid you're dealing with records from a glassed colony. We jump over to a message left to Ben from a conspiracy theorist, Ben using the recording as a way to balance the story. The government tells you that the records are a mess, the conspiracy nut responding, "You would say that!" Both are right, but ONI has facts on their side in this case. Records are a bitch to keep in the outer colonies, especially when it comes to dealing with glassed planets. Testimony from Ben and Ellie from her previous interview give credence to this claim. So, with a solid excuse to ignore his findings, Ben continues on with Sully's list of pre-arranged interviews. His next interviewee is ONI Vice Admiral Gabriela Dvorak. Quite the score on its own, but to sweeten the deal, Ben gets to conduct the interview on board one of the new Autumn-class heavy cruisers, the UNSC Unto the Breach. Ben gets the full luxury treatment, really buttering him up before sitting down with Dvorak. The Vice Admiral tells about the liberation of Elysium City in 2524, when John would have been 13. Like what we heard from Thomas Wu in the last episode, Elysium City, and presumably all of Eridanis too, was taken over by insurrectionists and the new Inquisition fell upon the people. Dvorak tells about how broken the people were when she, then a lieutenant, had arrived with other UNSC forces to liberate the colony. Then she saw John, a young 13-year-old who, despite all odds, despite weeks of incarceration and malnourishment, had not broken. In the months that followed, Dvorak stayed in Elysium City to help out at a refugee camp, and got to know John pretty well. He opened up to her on several occasions, even talking about his parents, who had died just weeks before the liberation. Dvorak recalls how resolute he was in these moments. We briefly jump over to Dion Govender again, him recalling how some of the survivors from Elysium had cobbled together a list of names of the dead, corroborating Dvorak's claim that John's parents were indeed dead. We finish up with Dvorak, she talking about how John had said that he would enlist and make a difference. Like before, Ben is able to weave this inspiring tale about a young man facing unbelievable strife and coming out stronger for it. The perfect hero's tale. But, like before, it all comes crashing down. This time the result of a follow-up with Ellie Bloom. We learned that Ellie had moved off-world in 2517, explaining why she wasn't around for John's death, and why she never heard about it. However, her friend Katrina is a different story. Katrina had remained on Eridanis 2 until 2528. She saw John die firsthand in 2517. Ellie goes into as much detail as a second-hand account can, but it's still horrifying to think about what the parents, friends, and other family were going through while they sat there and watched as John wasted away. With Ellie's help, Ben is able to make contact with Katrina, though she refuses to let him record their conversations. Katrina confirms that John did die at age 6 and, according to Ben, went into detail in such a way that he could not ignore it. But we're not done. Along with confirming John's death, she also reveals that John's parents were alive and well until at least 2528 when Katrina moved off-world. I mean, shit. ONI's pretty much just taking the facts of John's life and flipping them upside down, aren't they? John's not dead, he's alive. His parents aren't alive, they died. We can pretty much assume from here on out that ONI's interviews are going to be completely false. The only truth that has come from them so far is that John was good at King of the Hill. But of course, this brings other aspects of the tale into question. How much of these stories about the insurrectionists can we trust? While some of the insurrectionists are complete scum, what we've been hearing, these tales of Inquisition-like behavior, flies in the face of what we've seen in the books and comics of the Eridanis rebels in particular. When I think back to the interview with Thomas Wu, I noticed that the places that he had said people were escaping to after the insurrectionists left were all cities that had been glassed and destroyed. Perth City, New Alexandria, New Jerusalem. It would make finding survivors to corroborate or contradict such stories pretty hard, wouldn't it? The episode comes to a close with Ben starting to have something of a crisis of faith. He's hearing two very different stories and not everything can be true. He could ignore a single record, but that with a first-hand testimony and one that contradicts the other interviews so strongly, someone has to be lying. I said it before, it's getting better and better. Even if you know most of the plot twists, it's so intriguing to watch Oni try to weave this false tale of the Outer Colony kid who became the galactic hero. And to find out John's parents were alive until at least 2528 is quite the revelation in and of itself. Along with this episode, Ben posted 2 images to the Hunt the Truth Tumblr, 2 diary pages from Katrina when she was 7 that further lend credence to the story that John had been dead for 41 years. This hype train is going forward at full blast and shows no signs of stopping. What will Ben do in the wake of what he has learned? A simple truth was enough to wash away his findings before, but this is so much more. If he contacts Oni again, what will they say? Better yet, what will they do? Thanks for joining me again this week. For now, this has been Halo Canon, and I'll see you next time. Hey guys, thanks for watching my video. It means more than I can express in a few minutes of audio. If you did like it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, share it around on whatever social media you see fit, and all that jazz. Thank you so much. Your support is everything. I would not be where I am without you. Thanks.